So now we're done with the strings and we want to get started with the booleans. So we generally use booleans when we want to know if something is true or false. So and we use it in a lot of different conditions and circumstances. For example, when we want to compare two numbers and see if one of them is greater than the other, or if one of them equals the other, or if you want to check whether something exists or if something is of a certain type. So in all of these circumstances we use Boolean, which results in true or false. So in order to see how we write them and how we use them, we can create a new file and name it boolean.py, and inside of it we can so most of the time we want to compare two numbers, we use if statement. There are also other places where we use these booleans, but most of the time we use them inside an if statement. So if 5 is greater than 2, print 5 is greater than 2. Okay, this is a very simple Boolean code, but okay, let me run Python 3 boolean.py, and okay, 5 is greater than 2 because we've got into the if statement and it's been true. So most of the if statements, if they are true, we will enter the if, and if they are false, you cannot get in. So as simple as that. And if something is not true and you want to get in, you should write not. Okay. So for example, if 2 is not greater, so for not here we use this exclamation mark right here. So 5 is 2 is not greater than 5. Let's save this and see if there are any errors. Okay, we don't have this for not greater, so instead of that we can use smaller. This one is going to work, but if you want to use not equal, you can use this exclamation mark and equal, and then is not or does not equal 5. So because this statement is true, it enters the if statement. Okay, we kind of explained the if statement as well, but there are in so many other places where we use the booleans. For example, when you want to make sure if something is true, there are so many methods in the strings that also check, for example, if something is true. For example, if I want to get into the modify strings, for example, we can write change the string dot, and as you can see there are so many methods here that start with is. So is alpha, is ASCII. So this method checks whether something is ASCII or not. This string is ASCII or not. Is decimal, it checks whether it's decimal or not. Is digit. So the thing that these methods return is true or false. So they are all Boolean based functions or methods. And we have a ton of these functions related to different data types, and using them you can get something like true or false. And if you want to check if something is not true, you can use not statement. And also if you want to check if a variable is true or false, you can easily use bool and use the name of variable. For example, you can use bool and use 5. You can use bool and have something inside it. So generally, if a number is not 0, any number it is going to return true. And if a number is 0, it will return false. And if you have a string and the string is empty, it will return false. And if it has a character, even one character or 1,000 characters, it will show true. So that's the way bool function works. Okay, so let us print all of these numbers. Okay, I pause the video and print all of them one by one. And so let's rerun boolean.py. As you can see, 5, 1000, and 2 are all true, and 0 is false. Okay, suppose we want to check a string without any characters. So you should also use bool. For this, use bool, and also let's close the parentheses. And as you can see, it's showing false. Let's write something inside the quotation mark so that even if it has a space, let's see what happens. It still shows false. Okay, no, it shows true because it has a character, and the character is space. So let's also put something inside the quotation mark. For example, A, and save this. Let's see what happens. Okay, as you can see, it's true, and the last one is false. Okay, up to here, what we've talked about are not handy in the real world, but booleans come very much handy when we want to return something from a function. So we define a function, and inside of that function, we do some operations, and in the end, we want to return the result, and the result is whether true or false. So when, for example, it returns true, and we want to check whether something is the result of the function is true, we use if and the name of the function, and then inside of the if the function shows true, something happens inside of the if statement. But if the function is false, it won't get into the if statement. So def my function, and inside of it we write return true, the simplest form of returning true inside a function. Return true, and notice that it should start with the capital T. And then outside of the function we use if my function, and we don't write anything else. We can write, for example, if my function equals true, but if we don't write it, it still works the same way. So it says that if my function equals true. So if my function, and then you write nothing else, it is the same as writing whether my function equals to true. Okay, and in the next line, print my function returns true. So if we save this as you can see, it's going to print my function returns true. But if we return false, then the result will be nothing. Okay, it prints nothing. We can also write else and print my function returns false. So let's save this and rerun it. My function returns false because it has returned false. Anyway, that's a very simple way of showing whether the function is equal true or false. So we don't need to write anything else, or write, for example, equals true instead, and let's see if it works the same way. So let's run it, and as you can see, it works in very much the same way. So let's bring it back to true, and my function returns true. So as you can see, we do not need to use this kind of statement. So let me copy this and leave a comment here, and let's say that this is just the same as writing this, the same as writing if my function equals true. And notice that these comments right here, if you know that somebody else is going to write your code, you leave the comments. And this is especially handy if the one who is going to read your code is a very newbie developer. So you want to let the programmer, the new developer, know that these two are the same. So leaving comments every once in a while is very much handy.